Okay, it is time. It's that time of the week again. We're doing tier list time, and we're doing tier list on straight swords. Why straight swords? Because they're a setup that I understand pretty well. I've used most of them, and yeah, they're pretty poggers. They're very strong setup. Even if they have fallen from the grace of meta, they're still strong. Like as a general rule, like they're a strong A tier. If I was to put it onto the tier, if I was to overlay this onto the tier list itself, I'd probably say like the strongest straight swords are like the upper end of like A, so like top 3 or 4 setups in A, and then the weaker ones probably you could put in B. Probably if we were to do like the the Avengers of tier lists and put everything in, that's probably where I'd put it. If I'm being honest with you. Generally speaking, what you look for in a good setup is a good moveset. They all straight swords have a good moveset in some ways or another. They all have the power stance moveset, which is of course powerful. Yeah, they all do 1 billion damage. Their arc of attacks vary from being we'll say like the crouch poke, which is huge. I think the crouch poke is very based in part of the moveset, and kind of straight swords kind of live and die depending on how they choose to use that in certain matchups. So let's just get this on the road. So in terms of raw damage, even if they're not the how let me just check. They're like midway through in terms of range. So they don't have good range and they really don't have a good crouch poke. They are an A tier all the same though, because of that nuclear tier damage. Even if they struggle to get the backswings that some of the better versions do, strength build broads just hit like an absolute truck. So they get probably somewhere in the middle of A, I think. Yeah, I think that's I'm pretty happy with him. Kane Sword has the good moveset, but is not a very long boy. It's in the bottom 3 in terms of length. And because you rely on just using that moveset to push people into corners and catch them in backswings, in terms of like using those crouch pokes and stuff like that, I'd say they probably exist somewhere in C. They can still put an Ash on them, which is pretty useful, but that range kills them so badly. So probably C somewhere. The fact they still got an Ash and they have the decent crouch poke is still huge for them, but they're pretty short. I'm not a big fan. Nah, I will probably go with there. Carrions, they're an S tier. They'd have really good damage. They have the crouch poke. They have really good range. They're very common as well. They have decent split damage if you go min rex into int and then put the rest into strength. They are huge. Very, very good sword. I think they're the third longest straight sword as well. So you can still get just about do that whiff punish game. You know, they swing, and even against the top tier setups, if you aim it correctly and you time it correctly, you can still whiff punish something with like fucking 0 recovery. But you can still get people into the corner, go to town, smash your head against the L1 button, and they have to be cautious because again the damage is just absolutely bonkers. And then there's coded swords. Boom. Uh, this is a weird one as to which one is actually better. Codas do insane damage. They have really good split damage as well. Even if the AR numbers aren't great, the fact that it's pure holy and holy absorption is a little bit weird. It's the dark build of Elden Ring. Is basically the idea. It doesn't suffer from any split damage at all, so you don't have multiple forms of absorption or defenses or whatever the hell. Like, I forget what the actual calculation is called, but it doesn't really matter. You can have pure in this. There are things that they can do, so they can go Pearl Drake, they can go into um, the Holy Talisman as well to try and get the buff. And also, yeah, it's just really, really solid. It's a build check in a sense, in that if you don't counter pick into it, it can be pretty rough. But an awful lot of people don't have those swaps like off by heart, so you can still catch people. It doesn't have an Ash. The unblockable blade is cute, but it's not real in the same way as the Ash of War and Carrions isn't. Whereas these two do have access to individual Ashes of War, which is what really keeps them competitive. Particularly Broads. Broads having access to a bunch of tools definitely helps it a bunch. But Codeds and Carrions, just for the raw damage and the range, it's the second longest straight sword for how they want to play and how easy it is to get backswings and stuff. They get up here. Again, power. We're considering all this in power stance and the crouch R1s. The rest of the moveset isn't great. Yeah, just as a general rule, the jump R2s are great once. Against a good player or a very reactive player, you ain't never hitting that more than once in a set. So that's something to keep in mind. Same with the run R2s. Jump R2s, run R2s, same difference really. Crystal Sword, probably a C tier. Probably lower than this by virtue of the fact that, let me see where it actually falls. How long? Crystal Sword, it's actually longer than Kane's. The reason I put it in C tier is you don't have an Ash, and the only advantage that Kane's really has... could go with low B, actually. Let's go with low B. It's still pretty long, but it's not long enough to really justify it. The fact you don't get a decent Ash, the fact that you're kind of pretty short, you're not long, I think it kind of goes here. It's fine. It's like fine. It's okay. It's grand. Unfork. Golden Epitaph probably goes in B as well, for one simple reason that the Ash is currently banned on ladder because it increases holy damage, and that's a war crime in and of itself. This thing is integral in some out of bracket builds for 3 shots and stuff like that. You can get insane damage using the Ash, but you're immediately swapping off. It's, as range goes, it's long. It's fine. You don't get the best damage out of it, and there's better options. So it's just kind of, these things up here have better damage. These things up here have better splits. And the fact that it can't even use the Ash it does have in a competitive setting renders it down here. If we're going to be putting it, like, in an unrestricted sense, I'd probably put it up in A. Not because of it itself, but more because you can get the Ash and then you can do silly things. So, it goes there. It's fine. It's perfectly serviceable. This thing, I haven't used this thing ever. It has the same moveset as Carrion's, but it's shorter. What is it even called? What's the name of this thing again? Rotten Crystal. No. Lazuli. It's actually pretty... yeah. This thing goes in here. You can't put an Ash in it. It has Glintstone Pebble, which... God be with the days when Glintstone Pebble used to 2-shot on a true combo. It's Carrion's, but it's significantly worse in that it's so short. It's kind of silly. So, yeah, it kind of goes here. I think that's more than a fair place to put it. Unfork, yeah, that's where we got it. Again, I'm considering all this in a competitive mind perspective. That's just keep that in mind. Longsword, all of these ones kind of go more or less in B. There's certain builds that kind of need it to work, but I can't help but wonder. If it's really a bit of a waste of time going for. Probably bottom here. You still get an Ash. It's not the shortest one in the world. It's longer than Broads, but you don't get the same damage output. It's perfectly fine. It's fine. It's okay. It's grand. Lordsworn. This is actually longer and kind of falls into the same bracket. There's certain builds that it works on better, but there's just better options. There's better options on those builds to go for, and yeah, just it kind of goes into that same category. I think it's slightly longer than the... yeah, it is. It's about 2... It's in that bracket where it's just about... It's long enough that it's able to compete, but it's not great. Kind of goes in the top of B tier just because of the range. You can also put an Ash on it. It's fine. It's fine. Actually, hang on a second. Let me check. Can I put an Ash on that? Lordsworn, hang on. We're doing some science, boys. Let me just double check that you can actually put an Ash in it. Oh, I can actually... Whoa. That's a crazy idea. No, that is not what I wanted to do. Lordsworn. Boop, 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 boop. Very important business that we actually figure out if we can put an Ash in this thing. I've used it so much. If you can't put an Ash in it, it kind of goes down. Yeah, you can. You can put an Ash. It's fine. It's all good. I just realized that you can't see me boot up the game. That is cring. We'll fix that for the next tier list. Trust. Okay, what's next on the list? Yeah, I think I'm happy putting it here. Not the shortest. Could be a little bit better. It's cute. Weathered. Has the decent moveset. Short as shit. Goes down here. It's bad. It's very bad. The only thing I think that's shorter than it is the short sword, which is even worse. Wait, no, that's not the weathered. That's my beloved. That is the A tier Avenger for the funny 3-shot build. Mickelin's. Unrestricted, I'm kind of putting it here for the meme. It requires an awful lot of buff stacking in order to get it anywhere near where it needs to be in terms of like nuclear tier damage. But yeah, you can get the 3-shot on this. It's absolutely obscene. Even on ladder restricted you can do it. It's just a little bit harder because people are actually trying to prevent you from going anywhere near. Is it good? It has the funny art. It is a funny R2 that can't hit anything, but it's very cool when you do, and you get that rush of endorphins. It does nuclear tier damage, has decent range. I think it's like just below Carrion's in terms of range. Moveset is A-okay, so it does everything a straight sword wants to do, and it does it with insane degrees of damage. So yeah, that's that. Also, it's the only quality build that I'm aware of that's actually decent. So yeah, I'm gonna put that in 8 here. Nobles. Boom. These 3 are all pretty close. It's just personal preference. I think because it has the ash and you can kind of do an awful lot of stuff with it in terms of build wise, I'm actually going to put Nobles above Carrions. Above Coded, sorry. Back when Sword Dance was allowed on straight swords, this thing just is insane. It's absolutely bonkers. What was it? 70 sword dances in a set for finals, something along those lines. It's a really, really strong. You can put ashes on it. You can swap ashes on it. It's long. It's the longest straight sword. It's the long boy. Very, very strong. Can work on pretty much every build. Usually what people will do is they'll have an offhand one of these two, and then they'll have a main hand this so they have access to an ash. And also keep the general damage. It's fine. It's good. It's cute. It's funny. Yeah, there you go. Now, this might be a bit controversial. I'm going to put it here. It having access... It doesn't have... No, it doesn't have an ash. It doesn't have access to the crouch poke either. I'm going to put this at the top of B tier. It's like... It's a weird one because it mixes the thrusting sword, the PSTS, and the PSSS moveset with two-handing. So it's actually kind of bonkers. I think it's a very cool setup. Crown King is one of the people who's been running around with this thing for the last while and doing some pretty damn good work with it. It doesn't have an ash. It has a weird two-handed moveset that you can just switch to one-handed and do the same thing with anyway. So it's weird. I think that people could mix with this thing, as in like set it up, go for X, Y, or Z, then swap back over to the PSSS moveset and catch people with a bunch of shit. And I think that would be really funny. I think that this is just one of those things that people haven't played around with enough. It's still a power stance straight sword, even if it has a funny moveset. So it goes into B tier. I think there's some people who've done really cool things with it. I think the top of B tier is fine. It's kind of missing out on range. It's shorter than this. I don't think it has the same damage output, but I think that this kind of deserves to be around here somewhere. What's this thing called? Eokid, or whatever. I don't think it's very good. It goes there. I don't think it's great. I think it's the arcane one, and why would you run PSSS in an arcane build? You'd be just having nobles. I don't know. I don't think it's great. Maybe I'm missing something. It's possible. Who knows? But yeah, that's probably where I'm going to put it. Rot Swords. Rotten Crystal. It kind of goes in the same bracket. Status effects on power stance moves aren't great. It gets a lower build-up. They're short. They don't do pretty... They're actually pretty long. I'm going to put them... I'm going to put them here just by virtue of the fact that they're this but better. I think they go on strength builds as well. Strength generally gets a good build-up. But the problem is like the bread and butter of the setup is the L1s, and they build up very slowly. I think in the last FOC it was Lithium. I believe it was Lithium who did some very good work on these, but on like having one-handed status and using the one-handed moveset in order to build it up and then focusing. But I can't help but think it's like just go Poison Mist on the nobles and you have range, and you still have decent damage, and it doesn't really matter. So yeah, there you go. That's kind of where I feel. Short sword garbage. Yeah, it's just garbage. It's so tiny. It's so small. It's a small boy. It doesn't do very much. Why? Why? Yeah, it's just Hannah have an Ash has the poke moveset, I believe. Just it's still not very good. Sword and Knife and Flame, better than that, but not by much. The Ash of War is utter garbage. There's higher damaging straight swords. Yeah, it's not very good. Maybe for PvE it's fine. I could probably put it a bit higher because you're gonna have some int. Yeah, I've never seen anyone do work with this ever, outside of like shit posting. I don't think it's very good. It's cool. It's very anime, but I don't see it competing with any of these things. Where does it actually fit on the? Let me just have a quick look. Sword and Knight and Flame. It's middle of the road in terms of range, and it has garbage ash. Eh. Surprise me. That's what I say. I put it in C tier. I don't think it's very good. D tier. It's better than this. Trina's. Sleep can be jumped. Sleep can be avoided. They're very small. They're small boys. They're little toothpicks. I think they are not very good. I think that they are bad straight swords, and there's other I even think that this is better than it. It's like the third shortest. Does very little damage. I think this can output more damage than it. And the status build up isn't great. If you've seen me in arena using this thing, and you're like, oh my god, he slapped all the nerds. What? That's illegal. That's against the rules. No. These people are unprepared. If you're unprepared against a build, especially something like sleep, and you don't know how to deal with it, no. They're too small. They're too stubby, and they're too little damage. People don't have to respect them. They can just kind of mash at them from just slightly out of my range, while I'm all in their range. It's bad. Talons, they're pretty long, and as well as that, they also have a cool moveset. I think they go on Dex best, if I recall correctly. You L1 or 2 on the roll catch, but you'd still be better off R1ing. I think that the fact that they have another option that has a different timing to it kind of gives it a little bit better. I don't think it's very good. I think it's fine. I think it's serviceable. I think it's cute. So I kind of put it in that B tier. It's a perfectly reasonable. You wouldn't be you're not going to be like made fun of for rocking this thing. You're not, and it has access to ashes. It has all the things, and it also has the poke moveset. It's cool. It's sick. It's flashy. It's stylish. And then the weathered. It's not quite as bad as short, but it is still utter garbage. It's not great. Right, so that's more or less where we are at now in terms of the tier list. I could move this up a little bit just by virtue of the fact that it's long, but I think that it's a good swap in the fact that you have no ash at all. I know with carrions in these you don't have an ash either, and the fact that like you just can't use the ash in a competitive setting. Unfork bestie. There you go, that's the tier list. I hope you enjoyed yourselves in this 20 minutes of me rambling about a 1-button setup. Well, a 2-button setup. Sorry. A 2-button setup in between bashing your forehead against the L1 button. Hope that helps, folks. I hope you enjoy yourself. I hope you liked this. And like, subscribe, join the Discord, and keep up with the beginners brackets that are starting this Thursday. Next Thursday then as well. So it's next Thursday. Sorry. Well, it will be next Thursday because today is... I'm going. Bye. Love you all. Mwah.